Welcome back, everyone. Pal Ponder All Weather here. In this update, we're tracking a storm system off the southeast coast that will be making landfall later on this afternoon. Plus, a big cool down is coming for those areas out west, will spark severe storms in the week ahead. Plus, we'll take a look at next week to take you through the rest of September. So let's take a look at the setup going forward on the satellite pictures. You can see this kind of a elongated conglomerate showers and thunderstorms. That is your potential tropical cyclone 8 out there. It is not officially named because you can definitely see it's got some 50-mile-per-hour winds with it, but there's definitely no low-level center. So until it gets a low-level center, it will not take an official name, which would likely be Helene, but it's running out of time and only has a couple more hours, but it's leaving some very heavy rain. In fact, some areas have already picked up 5 to 6 inches of heavy rainfall. Then we have another complex that's coming on off the west coast. That's bringing some showers and thunderstorms for that area. Plus, it's bringing much cooler conditions. You can already see the beginning stages of what could unfold with the form of severe storms as we head through the week ahead. So let's get right to it. Here is the latest update with potential tropical cyclone 8. Right now, it is a 50-mile-per-hour tropical cyclone moving north-northwest at 5 miles an hour. It only has probably about 4 or 5 more hours before it officially makes landfall, so it's definitely run out of time to take a name, but it doesn't really matter because the impacts aren't going to change it already is dumping some very heavy rain. In fact, if you kind of zoom in between south of the Wilmington region, they've already picked up more than 5 inches of rainfall over the last 24 hours. And you can see most of the heavier rain is actually away from the center, which continues to push north-northwest and would likely creep towards the Myrtle Beach area through Florence all the way up into Charlotte as we get deeper into the evening time frame. But that's going to produce some very heavy rain spreading into the Carolinas. In fact, we already have slight to moderate risk for excessive rainfall, and this is where that red is. They're already seeing that excessive rainfall. They'll be adding to those totals for those areas across Myrtle Beach into Charlotte, up to Asheville, all the way to Greensboro, getting down into the Jacksonville region, extending as far north as the Virginia Beach region. Definitely be on high alert, is looking for some 45 to 50 mile per hour wind gusts associated with this activity as it continues to progress north-northwest, dumping those heavier rains. That's why we do have the flash flood watch in place. But the big picture kind of looks like this. You've got kind of a mega blocking pattern kind of taking shape. We got this more significant trough out west. Those temperatures are going to be dropping big time, which they've been really wanting to change in the overall pattern. They're going to get it out west with that pretty much significant trough coming in. There's the more unsettled weather across the southeast. And then you've got the ridge of high pressure that's pretty much dominating the rest of the country, especially the central and northern parts. And with this heat dome, this high pressure over the top, that's what's helping to lower the pressures underneath into the southeast. And as it continues to make landfall this afternoon, it will still be a formidable low pressure center that will continue for several days, dumping some more extensive heavy rain. So as we head into Tuesday, that complex, that trough will be digging in and intensifying, and as it does, we'll be looking at a round of showers and thunderstorms that will likely turn severe in portions of Montana, through the Dakotas, back into areas of Colorado, getting into Nebraska, while we have that other complex that just that potential tropical cyclone out there that will continue to dump some heavier rains that will likely spread eventually into Virginia, West Virginia, and eventually heading into Pennsylvania and New Jersey. So here's the setup as far as like severe weather on Tuesday. So here's, you got that line of showers and thunderstorms that will spark some significant wind gusts of upwards to 60, 65 miles an hour into the Montana region, back through the Dakotas, through Nebraska, those areas on the eastern side of Colorado there, as well as in the northern portions of New Mexico. Gonna have to be on high alert for those strong to severe thunderstorms as this low pressure, a 993 millibar low pressure, continues to deepen, and this will lift northeast, and as it does, will create kind of a tail, and on that tail, we'll have to be concerned about that line of showers and thunderstorms as we have our low pressure center still continuing there. It's still weakening, but it's still enough to still spark some additional showers and thunderstorms as we head through the day on Tuesday, and then getting into that Wednesday time frame as well. So if we take a look at the big setup on the vorticity map, kind of looks like this. This is the remnants of what is left over from that system that's off the coast of the Carolinas right now. We have that 993 millibar low pressure center that will continue to lift northeast and sparking some severe storms along, this region right here going into Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday timeframe likely, as we'll have another little cool shot of air coming down from British Columbia down into our western states. Yeah, they're definitely not going to be complaining out there across Oregon into California, much of Nevada. Even Phoenix finally gets into the action, breaks that 100-degree streak cycle they've been dealing with for May 26th. Crazy. Pretty much all summer long, it's been over 100 degrees every single day. They really just haven't had a break. And here's the setup on Wednesday as far as like your temperature anomalies. This is what we're looking at, what you would normally be at this time of year. So when you're seeing some, temperatures upwards to almost 20 degrees below average, that's a, a fairly significant cool blast approaching that region. And then you have kind of the leftover showers and thunderstorms, but then of course the mega blocking keeps the ridge of high pressure firmly in place. In fact, it only kind of intensifies as we head in the middle of the week towards the end of the week for the central US, as those temperatures are really going to start to climb. And as those temperatures climb, the severe storms also climb as well. So because storms love heat, and that's exactly what they're going to get, especially with that trough out west coming in. That always sparks that kind of clash in temperatures and produces those elevated showers and thunderstorms that will likely turn severe through Montana, back into the Dakotas again. If anything, it only shifts a little bit further off to the east. Now we're talking like, eastern areas of Nebraska, eastern portions of Kansas, those western areas, western parts of Oklahoma will likely get some severe storms on Wednesday, possibly Thursday. But overall, the mega blocking pattern is pretty much going to take shape for, much of the week. Got trough out west, you got that little bit of unsettled weather off the southeast coast. You got in the middle, pretty much your battle zone of the ridge of high pressure, and then those severe storms that will be clashing into that air mass. But yeah, these widespread 90s across Texas and Oklahoma, probably the last thing that they want to see as they approach fall, but they're going to be getting it. Not really going to be going anywhere. 90s surge all the way north into Missouri, even upper 80s in Iowa. We're talking 85 in Minneapolis. That's definitely plenty warm for this time of year, as even the cool down will start to lose its luster a little bit by the time we head into Friday, because we have a little bit more zonal flow coming back in the picture. What is a zonal flow? Well, that's a warm flow off the Pacific, and that is basically brings back more ridging across a good part of the United States, and ridging pretty much produces sinking air and warm air. So we are going to be warming up big time in the week ahead. That cool down is going to be kind of short-lived out west, as the temperatures will start to climb as we head into that first day of fall, which is typically the 22nd. It's actually late this year on the 22nd in the morning time frame on Sunday. But look at the ensembles, folks. Look what happens next week with that zonal flow. And this is what the ensemble members are printing out right now for the North American view. There's not much blue on the map, right? I mean, it's kind of plenty warm for the first full week of fall. Pretty much all the entire lower 48 has above average conditions. Much of Canada, even Greenland. I mean, it's warm across the board. And that's exactly what the Climate Prediction Center has as well. So based on what you would typically see this time of year, those temperatures are likely going to be above that for a good part, if not almost all, of the lower 48 for much of next week, with that zonal flow coming back in the picture. And as we transition into fall, we always like to look at some of the fall foliage. So here's some of the fall foliage that will likely start as we head into next week, that first full week of fall. And this is what we are expecting as far as some of the fall foliage out there. The yellow color is kind of starting to appear. You have a little bit of a lower color as we transition into the orange, back up into Bangor, northern portions of Maine here, back into some of the higher elevations. You have some of that transitioning to that deeper, darker colors. And of course, as you transition into that darker shade of orange, even the more transition starts to take place, especially in the higher elevations. And of course, as we head into the end of September, it just likely gets even more intense with that fall color dripping further south. So it's not just going to be impacting the northern areas. Now we're talking some of the central areas. We'll start seeing some of that transition over to that fall foliage back into the Denver region, likely extending into St. Louis by then, back into the DC region. And of course, this will only extend further south every week we get into the month of October. And eventually, as we head into that first week of November, it finally reaches those areas like in Texas and places like into Louisiana and Mississippi, where it's typically like the last ones to actually see that fall foliage. But then what's happening in the tropics, right? If we don't get the name Helene in the next couple of hours, we'll have to wait until next weekend, because this is prime time storm season, right? It's the month of September, so usually it's a really busy month. And so as we head into next week, this would be later into the following week. It's still over a week away. But all eyes start to turn to the Caribbean as more ensemble guidances are starting to hint at more lower pressures. You know, we're going to have plenty of heat across the lower 48, so there's not going to be any question about that as far as high pressure over the top. So that is definitely going to help enhance some of those lower pressures down there into the Gulf, into the Caribbean. So this will be a favored area, you know, once we get into that, say the 25th, September 25th timeframe. This would likely be about 9 days from now. We could be looking at another active area of higher probabilities of forming another possible tropical depression, or maybe even a storm by then, that may try to get back into the Gulf, you know, as we head into that last week of September. So guys, I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video, definitely hit the subscribe button, and catch my next update while I protect you before and after the storm.